All right. Well, namaste to everybody. We're so glad to get an opportunity on this glorious sun shining here in Missouri day. Cold as heck, snow covering the ground, and the world is amazing. So I hope you guys are being blessed. The ones that I get to talk to, it is encouraging in many situations that they are that there is change growing, even if it's small and incremental. And unfortunately, you know, it's like people want to wake up tomorrow and be a different person. And while we are that, whether we do anything or do nothing, it still is is something that because it's the easy path, it doesn't have all the struggles that you have to go through every day dealing with yourself, and on and on and on. So shalom to each and every one of you. I hope that you are experiencing the fullness. I hope that and if you're not, then I hope that you're headed towards the fullness. Inevitably, as we come into true full consciousness of higher self, we will begin to manifest the fullness at a much greater level. For those that may not know, because there's been so much changes, that have gone on for many people, it's quite difficult because the concepts are so tied, but it's only when you begin to understand and allow the revelation inside of you that the belief system that we have been taught is basically nothing but a matrix. It's a holographic reality that has been produced, and you live in it and you are a part of it until you choose to opt out of it. And those that are beginning the journey. So I want to say a few things. First off, I think there's a misconception, at least let me say that's my perspective. One of the major misconceptions that's going on right now is that there is some cataclysmic event when it's really is it's a microcosm of the macrocosm of the Big Bang Theory. Okay, everybody thinks that one day they're going to see colors and they're going to be in meditation, and all of a sudden, poof, they're going to be supernaturally mystical. And that is nothing but a mindgasm you are being programmed to have by the archons. It's not going to happen. You're always going to be defeated because you never experience that experience. And so as we begin to function in this, then higher levels begin to manifest in consciousness. And the higher levels have to do with simply that we are that divine inspiration, consciousness, viewing experience. And that may be one of the greatest revelations that would ever happen if you wanted to deem it as awakening. But in reality, every time that you experience a piece of the truth manifesting in your life, that is an awakening. So awakening is not something that you do like in the morning when you wake up. Awakening is living a lifestyle of watching the manifestation of the truth that has been given to you function and manifest into your everyday life by changes in your thoughts and changes in your behaviors and changes in the way that you treat people, and the list then just begins to expand. So in reality, there are infinite awakenings, all of which are geared towards bringing you to the fact that you are true higher consciousness and exist in a realm, but you don't. And so I want us to come to a place to where we do. And that is where you have to engage then in John's statement that he makes, that he must decrease so that his higher self can increase. See, when you're full of your ego, when you're full of your avatar, and it is an avatar, you're nothing but your life is an avatar. It's fake. It's not real. It's never been real. It's who you believed you were. And because of that, you've created a reality out of your mind that fits that narrative. The question isn't, is that true? Billions of spiritual believers in science know what I just said to you is absolutely true. Okay? So that's not the issue. The issue is can you come inside of you to a place where you begin to accept the truth that is being imparted to you? That is to say, until you come to the place that you say, I am my human self who has been functioning myself for 60 years or 40 years or 20 years or 12 years is totally irrelevant. But it's when you come to the consciousness that that is in fact not reality in the larger scheme. That is to say, spirit reality, if you would. There's a lot of terms you could use it, and all of them would be pale. Understand, we were told to worship an external God, and so you spend hours and you spend time and you speak in tongues and you babble and you do all of these things because they told you that that's what would get you there. And in reality, none of that can ever manifest you. Only you can manifest you. And I love what Yahusha said when he said that I and the Father are one. So I would love to show and share with you and impart to you a major truth today, dear friends. You and the Father are one, but you must awaken to that oneness. All of the concept that we have of Christianity is to cause separation between us and God. Okay? And Yahusha was telling them that this is BS and it's never been the truth. That's why he told them, the most ancient leaders in Israel, the Sanhedrin, if you understood what that means, he told those leaders that you can't hold me any longer in captivity in the prison of the archons. Understand, the archonic leader's name is Demiurge in Gnosticism, but in reality, when you get into 300 years later into the concocted Christian Bible, the Demiurge has a new name, and his new name is Jehovah. His new name is Yahweh. He has the same attributes. He's still the only God, and above him there is no God. And the sheer fact of reality of that should just boggle your mind that we believed any of that. It's amazing that the Gnostics knew that there were many authorities that could be deemed as Elohim, which would mean the powerful ones. There are many powerful ones, but that's still not talking about the unknowable one, who we would call Source. So what a barrage as is. It's just so crazy, man. The reality of all of this truth that has been hidden from us is so beautiful, and it will propel you in ways that you've never dreamed or imagined. And for those that have been light workers and who have maybe been bouncing in and out of a timeline that's with him for a long time, and you've known and you've said and you've spoke and you've channeled with no knowledge of those things, so it doesn't change that you've already been functioning without knowledge. What it does is gives you gnosis, it gives you knowledge so that you can now know not only what you can do, but what you can do that you know nothing about. And that's the part that turns me on personally. I want to see the power that Yahusha told us we were supposed to wield on this earth manifest. And if your heart's not there, that's fine. It doesn't make you bad nor good. It just simply means there's very little chance for you to ever experience that experientially. Do you understand that? This isn't about going to hell. The people who do not embrace their enlightenment and their eternalness, those people are not going to be sent to hell. They're simply going to be sent back in to the dense world again to live yet again another life in which they learn nothing, create a bunch of karmic debt, die, and come back in again. So, I don't know, perspective, someone might say, yeah, but sir, that's hell to me. And I would agree with them. I'm done. I believe I've already been to the pleroma, and I was sent here for a job, a purpose, in this incarnation. But to be quite honest with you, I have no interest to come back. I've experienced all I need to experience. I'm ready to move on to the higher things that Source has that are available to us. And they are amazingly available to us. We are one with them. We are the drop in the ocean. We are the speck of light that is part of the light. And so as we continue to go on, but please, I would like to caution. I hear lots of people say lots of words, and I understand that they're not aware of what maybe sometimes what they're actually saying, or they probably would have never said it. But we must be very careful. We must be very careful about what we let inside. And I realize that all of us have to go through the processes. Oftentimes, Source puts us in places and positions solely for the purpose of watching how we react. So for those of you that are maybe a little more advanced than other people, last month, as we came into 2026, that month had the concept of a beginning of remembering. And so this has been going on for years, the remembering, but we've seen something a little different. And I talk to people who know a lot, and I've talked to people who don't know anything, and everyone says it's amazing when I go places, I hear words starting to come out of people's mouths that have to do with the beginning of some kind of understanding that there is something going on in the world. They may not even know what it is. They just simply know that something seems to be changing in our world, friend. And that's wonderful, because that in itself is an awakening. So I would say that most of the world has begun awakening. Now, that's a long-term process. It's a long-term project. And so last month was kind of a major bump. 2026 is going to be a phenomenal year. You guys will be amazed when we get to December and we go into January of 2027. You'll be amazed at all that's transpired. You will be amazed at all of the systems that have crumbled. Christianity is crumbling. Political realms are crumbling. It's very clear to see that it won't be long and there won't be a Democratic Party. That is not acceptable in higher consciousness, that belief system, that you steal from one to give to another. If people give from their heart to help their mankind, that is an enlightened behavior. For a government to steal their riches to give to people who refuse to work is not higher consciousness. I'm sorrowful if that crushes your holy cow, but it is a reality. If this doesn't come from the heart, it's fake. And you can fake it very good. Oh, brother, I see you have such a problem. Let me give you a few pennies, and, it's like tipping the lady that spilled water in your lap. All right? Very seldom does it really do much blessing. So we have to be very careful about these things as we go along. The true consciousness is going to expose itself, dear friends. And many of the things that in our society, whether you pick the political realm, whether you be conservative or whether you're a liberal, right is right and wrong is wrong. And the things that are wrong are going to be exposed. And as more people become conscious of their light, less and less of those things that are not light are going to be tolerated by society. Now, I don't know about you, but I embrace that wholeheartedly. I think it would be amazing if humanity ever came to a place where what Martin Luther King Jr. stated, which is to me one of the most profound statements that any political person has ever made, and he said, at one point in history, he was speaking prophetically of what is to come. At one point in history, there will be a time when people are judged according to their character, not their skin, not their finances, not what country they came from, but who are you as a person. And if that doesn't turn you on, then I would invite you to do some real soul searching, because you got some sickness you need to get rid of. But be that as it may, that's each individual person's responsibility. So, the Nag Hammadi scriptures, we're back to the Nag Hammadis. Maybe some of you don't know, maybe there will be somebody that comes along. It's quite mind-boggling when you come to the understanding that Christianity was not even created until 300 years after the death of Yahusha by a Roman emperor. That right, just those words I just said to you right there should send up every red flag that you possess in your human body. 300 years. So not one of the people that drew together your beloved Bible, not one of those people knew one of the people that were written about in the Bible. Not one. Not one. So who are they writing about, and what knowledge are they writing about? Well, you can only judge by the character of the teaching. So we find that this concoction of a Roman emperor loved to stomp, crush, kill, and beat into submission anything that questioned their God-given authority. It's kind of like when you stop and look at the reality of America was never an empty country. America was fully possessed by the rightful possessors of this land when we brought our divine revelation to it, that if you don't agree with us, we will simply kill you. How America was established is no different than how Christianity was established. It was established through death, power, and law. If it hadn't have been, the American people who came would have fit into the indigenous cycles that were higher consciousness systems. They were destroyed once again. So there's 2 times in recorded history where I've exposed to you that consciousness can and will be destroyed by wrong people if consciousness isn't the focus. So it's not surprising that we are where we are today, because we are a system of destruction, and what you are is what you reap. The Christian church is the same way. It is a system of control and destruction. And what you sow is what you reap. Do you still believe any of the truth that has been brought out? Because if you do, then that has to affect the way that you live, act, and behave. If you truly believe that every freaking thing that you do is going to come back on you. I hear people, oh yeah, I believe that, and then just watch them an hour from now. You'd have to question whether that's a true statement or not. But we're all growing, and we're all still learning. Will we have some glitches? Probably daily. Is it for a short time or a little time? I suspect for a long time we're going to have glitches. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that you recognize, which is discernment. So you discern that you made a misstep, and you rectify the misstep. And then you go on. How beautiful that is. Boy, you talk about take shame and guilt away. When you can just, it's up to you now. You say, well, what if I'm not conscious enough to recognize? Then you're just going to continue to keep doing the same crap, and you're going to stay in the same place. That's all. I mean, that's the worst that can happen to you, is you just never change. So for those who are seeking higher ground, and now is certainly the time to seek higher ground, friends. This is an amazing power that's functioning. But back to last month was deemed, this month that we're actually finishing, was deemed as a month of remembering, and it certainly has been that. This coming month, and I experienced it 4 or 5 days ago starting, and it took me a few days to get what was going on, and then somebody brought confirmation that what I was sensing was right. This month that we're going into, the month of February, is powered by the stars as a month of judgment. And you say, oh, okay, now we're back into condemnation. No, it's not really as you think it is. The universe is looking at you. Whatever is coming out of you, the universe is going to be examining every human being and finding out about you whether you are real or whether you are living the avatar. So if in fact the reality is that inside of you, in spite of your avatar, you are living these things, and you are, as you grow, you are putting these things into your life, you're putting these things into your behavior, then that's more the concept of what the universe seems to be looking for in this time that we are. Are you real? You understand that dissonance in us is what stops the flow of the universe to us. Somebody said, I made a statement the other day about coherence, and if you watch much stuff, you hear a lot about coherence, but most of the people I've talked to don't actually have an idea about what coherence really manifests. How does it look in our lives? And so for a second here, I felt like it might be really important to share this little piece, and we'll get into bigger pieces as we go on. But in a nutshell, in the simplest form, for people who are coming out of Christianity and have no real spiritual knowledge about anything really, other than what through the paradigm that Christianity taught, coherence for us, if you study frequency and sound, which is where all of us comes from, Nikola Tesla made the comment. He said, if you want to know who God is, think on frequency and sound. Okay, we are all vibrations of, and it means everything as far as how our life is. And so when we are in coherence, if you can find the actual legal proper definition of coherence, and they can show you on graphs that when you are in coherence, all of the sound waves are all running in the same direction. And when you become incoherent, your sound waves begin to broaden. This is known for hundreds of years, guys. This isn't new ancient mystic wisdom. Science knows the words I'm saying to you are right. So how does that look then in the human psyche and having to do with spirit self? When we are in coherence, we are flowing in line with source. When you are out of line with source, you are incoherent. You are not coherent anymore. You are not in time. So it is true, although it's being used in many cases in the wrong concept of going with the flow, that has become a spiritual buzzword to be a how do you say it, a get out of jail free card for people who profess spirituality. It is not the reality of true coherence. True coherence has to do with me being in alignment with my source, my higher self, my God that I am in me, as Yahusha said it. And when you are in that flow, then you are in coherence. And when you get in coherence, friends, the world is beautiful. You can sing the Mac Davis song and sing it all day long and absolutely know it's true, that everything is beautiful. I don't know if any of you are, but I'm experiencing all kinds of weird shifts in me. When I look at animals now, I have a different concept of animals, that I am experiencing animals through my physical self because I am the creator. And that may be hard for some of you to quite get a hold on. I've been on a long journey about this concept. If we are the ones that are creating our reality, then how do we deal with that? What does that look like? I'm going to learn all that is necessary for me to be a blessing on this earth as long as I have, and I will see the powerful things that we are told that we should be manifesting already to touch, bless, and heal other people. Yahusha never healed a person for a penny. Okay? And that's going to be very hard. Helena Blavatsky talked a lot about people in their spiritual, materialistic minds that they will never crawl out of. Everything to you is about money. And if everything to you is about money, money is your God. So when it becomes about love and kindness and peace and healing and helping, when that becomes you, then you, my friend, have stepped through the threshold. And until it is, you're still outside. Well, we have some metaphoric teachings and prophecy in the Bible about those people who would be inside, pardon the pun, but they weren't joking when they talk about being inside the city, and there are those who are outside the city. I've had 1,000 conversations about that having to do with material humans, and it's not. It's a picture of what is the world really, and the world is really those that are inside the city, the safe place, the closet. It's all the same thing. It's you. And until you're there, you're outside. Until you're there, you're incoherent with source. Until you're there, you're not in alignment, because alignment and coherence go together. I now am doing the things out of the flow of peace inside of me. I am doing the things that are pleasing to source. That should be the most beautiful message you've ever heard, but for many, it's almost worse than telling them they're going to hell, because they now are even further from the reality of how you get there. Hell's easy. We learned how to get there, right? Just go do all these wrong things they say are wrong and you'll go to hell. That was easy. The hard part was getting out of hell. Well, it's a little bit different here, because the hard part is getting incoherence. The real hard part is you learning how to control yourself, how to be an observer, how to channel, if you would, and I use that term lightly, but how to channel yourself into the flow of the universe. Big message, I know it is, and as I said, I love the greatness and the kindness and the love that he's put inside of me. And I hope that some of you will become to that place too, because it's really amazing when you all of a sudden don't really care what other people think about you anymore. You simply care about your relationship with yourself and who you are. And I hope that you will come to that. It's not self-centeredness, it's actually selflessness, because you care enough to look at yourself so that you can fix you. Because everybody's not the problem. You are the problem. And that's very difficult for people in our society to deal with. My God, if you're not careful, Karen will get triggered about you said hi in the wrong way. So, you know, it still exists, folks. It's still going on, and it still exists in the spirit realm. So I left off last week in the Nag Hammadi scriptures. We've been reading the first revelation of James. This was the leader, however it ends up being. If you read this text, you find out that all that Christianity has proposed may not really be true, and that James was not necessarily this James the Just, the one that was leader of the Essenes and leader of the first Gnostic churches, that he, and just so you know, Peter was also a Gnostic. He was not a Roman Catholic Christian. He was a Gnostic. He taught Gnosis. All of them did, including Paul. Remember, Paul's writings are 200 years before there was Christianity. They could make Paul's writings say anything they wanted them to say because nobody knew Paul. And it worked. So we were in the first revelation of James, and we're going to pick up where I left off with Jesus reveals to James how he also will be delivered from suffering. So last week, you remember, Yahusha said all the things he suffered never hurt him a bit. Well, I want to speak to that to try to maybe help some of you guys understand. Yahusha wasn't saying that his flesh did not feel any pain. What he was telling us is that my flesh is not the thing. Do you realize what I just said to you is going to be one of the hardest parts of your journey to come to true coherence with Source? That this stupid flesh body that you think is so important is nothing. It's nothing. It means nothing. It has no value. It comes into being, it collapses, and it dissolves back to the ground. It wasn't important to Yeshua to have anything to do with your physical body. And yet we are so ego-driven, so tied up in the avatar of our humanity that it's very difficult for people, and I'm not talking, once again, about head knowledge. I'm talking about when you sit by yourself and the revelation comes to you directly from your higher self about what these things that I put out there are. They're not for me to teach you them. They're signs for you to look for. This will manifest in my life. There is a purpose and a plan, and I need this so that I can progress. That's what the whole concept. And so the master said to him, James, look, and I shall reveal to you your deliverance. Okay? So if we truly believe that there was a Yeshua over in Israel, and if you know the rest that I've shown you about how he was a Vedic and he was a mystic, just like Moses was, all of those things have been given a narrative. Moses had to grow up in Egypt because Moses had to be taught the true mystic lifestyle that was taught by Thoth at that time, and that's what Moses learned. He never knew the supposed Yahweh prior to that. But he knew how to make supernatural things happen because of his higher self. And that might be hard if you're a Christian and you haven't come out of the darkness very much. That might be hard for you to deal with. That it wasn't, he already possessed the power because he is the power just as you are the power. And so the master said to him, look, James, I shall reveal to you your deliverance. When you are arrested and you face these sufferings, a multitude of people will arm themselves against you in order to seize you. Now, I would like for you to make a mental note that so far he's talking about his deliverance, and he hasn't said one word about any of this stuff that's going to happen to James being stopped. That's the first thing. If you think and have a higher elevated mind, you would recognize immediately what he has said, but also what he hasn't said. And a multitude of people will arm themselves against you in order to seize you. 3 in particular will lay hold of you, those who sit as toll collectors, 1. Not only do they demand toll, they also take away souls by theft. Stop a minute. He must not be talking about a physical, literal human being if they have the ability to take away your soul by stealing it from you. Has anybody's lights begin to blink yet? If they haven't, I'm sorrowful for you, but it's obvious painfully where he's headed. If you fall into their hands, the one who is their guard will say to you, who are you? Just so you know, I've already told you this many times, what's happening when you leave this physical body. For those of you that are very close to death, the most blessed day that you ever possessed was the day that I did what others will not do, and I told you how you must react when you leave your body, because I promise you, every human being that has ever left their body, near-death experience or full death, has encountered the exact same basic system. Now remember, he's telling us about paying a toll, and he's telling us about stealing souls. Well, the toll that you're going to be told that you need to pay is karmic debt. Guaranteed you're going to get that. And so if you fall into their hands, The one who is their guard will say to you, who are you? Did you know that who are you is the most destructive question ever asked to humanity? It means nothing if you know the answers. It means everything if you don't. Who are you and where are you from? In other words, do you really have any clue about who you really are? You know how many, whatever the term is for multiple unlimited billions of humans have been asked those two questions and had zero knowledge about what the answer was supposed to be? You are to say to him, so this is a word of wisdom from the one who knew. The one that was before everything was is the chrism. Just so you know, you're also before everything that was. You are to say to him, I am a son. So we're now talking dialogue outside of the body, that you're being warned by the one who knew about your behavior once you leave your body. And I promise you, if you'll listen with the right heart, you'll very much hear that this conversation is more important than any conversation you've ever had in your life. The most important thing you'll ever do has nothing to do with what you do while you're in this human body. It has to do with exactly what you do when you leave this human body. What a paradigm shift from Christianity. And so he says, who are you and where are you from? You have to know the answer to these two questions experientially inside of you. That is the resurrection. And you are to say to him, I am a son and I am from the Father. So I'm to tell these entities that I'm going to engage that nobody believes exist anyways, and I'm going to encounter them, and they're going to have white robes, and one of them's going to look like Jesus, and they're going to come up to me, and everything's going to be so warm and lovely, and they're going to tell me how wonderful I was till they take me to the Akashic record so I can see how horrible I really was. I call it the ego awakening machine. If you have a near-death experience, place some value on the ego awakening machine, because what you see in the Akashic record is the true you, who you really are in your ego. That's why people hurt and they cry and they scream and they come back totally different people, because they saw who they were in its ego. And so you are to say to him, I am a son and I am from the Father. And he will say to you, what kind of a son are you? All of this is a fact-finding mission. The day that you die and the second you step out of your body, you begin a journey. And the journey that you had here at many levels is only valuable for what you did or did not learn. And that's what the archons are going to begin to feel to the farthest part. Why? Because the archons are not divine. And when I say that, that means that we do not have a spark. We have a spark of the monad in us, but the archons do not. They're supernatural, they're spirits, but they are not divine in the concept that we are. And so, what kind of a son are you? And so, if you look with a real stupid look on your face at an archon who's judged gazillions of billions of people, and you look at them and you don't know what to say, it's over. They don't need to ask you any more questions. They know that you are not what you're supposed to be. You need to go back in again. And that's exactly where they're going to lead you, from 1 to 7. And you say, I am a son and I am from the Father, and he won't be hung up by that, and that's not going to free you, because he's going to ask you another question. And the other question he's going to ask you is, he will say to you, what kind of a son are you, and to what father do you belong? Stop and think about that for a minute. What if you'd have been told your whole life it wasn't about hell, but it was about what the questions that you were going to be asked by the archons when you leave this human body? Because I'm going to tell you right now, almost across the board, every person that I know is coming back in reincarnation again. This beautiful thing that's happening is not going to be for everybody. And that's hard for some humans to figure out. But the problem is it really continues the insinuation all the way into the astral plane. You caused it. Because you had an opportunity. Remember, I told you guys early on that you must resurrect while you're on earth. If you are resurrected, you know the answers with no questions to those answers. They're easy. It's not going to be something that you had to stop and get a notebook out and read who you were or why you came from him or what you are. It's not going to be that. It is what you are, not what you do, not how you believe, not how you think. It's what you are. And so I can't voice this loud enough, although I fear that maybe some people take my passion as condemnation or something, and I'm not trying to condemn you. There's just no easy way to say to people that you are going to be judged, and it's by archons, not by Yahweh. And the judgment is going to be based on you. What you do, what you say. Did you notice not one word has been said by Yeshua yet again? So here's the fifth place that I have found where there are zero requirements to Yeshua's words. Did you notice he didn't say if you smoke cigarettes, you're out? Did you notice he didn't say if you have some kind of sex that society doesn't like that you're out? Did you notice? None of that's there. Why? Because it's not relevant. You're over here in your carnal mind thinking that this stuff somehow has eternal implications. And what you do is what has eternal implications. And so, what kind of a son are you? I don't know. And what father do you belong? Oh, I belong to Father Yahweh. They go, you're the demi-heirs' child, and it's time for you to come back, dear son. Your daddy is calling you home again. If you don't know that there is no option. That's where you're headed. And all of us have lived many, many, many incarnations not knowing these answers. We have an opportunity that the universe has presented them to us so that we might know them. It's the greatest gift to humanity that could ever be given is this awakening that's going on. That's why it's so precious. And I go everywhere. I ask people all the time, constantly. It doesn't matter to me where I'm at. I always try to find a way to ask a person, well, where are you spiritually? Do you know what the most common answer I have? I don't believe in spirituality. I don't say any other words. Okay. Can I make you believe in something you don't believe in? It's not my job. My job is to tell those, seek and find those that desire light and to bless them, to help them, to benefit, to give them the truth that's being hidden from them by all the other people who have motives of trying only to make themselves rich. And it works, man. Don't get me wrong, dear friend. I have no problems in $30,000 or $40,000 a month coming in. But if I have to lie to you and hide the truth from you, how am I any different than Christianity? I'm here because my Father sent me here, not because of anything else. And I didn't need someone to tell me I'm supposed to be doing this. I knew it. So what kind of a son are you, and to what father do you belong? You are to say to him, I am from the pre-existent Father, and I am a son in the pre-existent one. That seems really simple, doesn't it? But ask yourself this question. If you just went through a heart attack and you just died and you just left your body, and this wasn't what you were anyways, do you really think that you're going to muster inside yourself to lie to the archons who know your mind better than you do? Do you really think that you're going to get out of it? Come on, guys, let's quit playing games with ourselves. Half the world is still out there trying to lie to themselves that their ego is who they really are. And they're going to be destroyed for it. I don't care if people like that or don't. That is the reality. This is totally free will choice. If you believe him, you will make the things, you will learn, you will do the things that are necessary to find out who you are. And if you don't, I promise you, you're not going to waste your time to do so. And from what I see, it's about 90 to 10. I hope that changes. I expect that changes. But if I ask 10 people that one simple little question, I'll be lucky if I get one or two who understand something is going on in the cosmos. That's very simple to see. You can see and discern that in your everyday life. It's not hard. It's mysticism, but it's not difficult mysticism. It's just using your mind, right? Your higher mind. Let me put that in there for you. So we are to say to him, I am from the pre-existent Father, the eternal, the one that is nameless, and I am a son in the pre-existent one. When I told you a while ago, if you heard that and it made hair come up on your back, that I told you you were divine and existed before anything else was divine and existed, if that made hair come up on yourself or you had a resonance problem all of a sudden, those problems are because of the inside of you, not because what I said is not true. See, we have this thing, and I know I speak about it more, and I don't go watch everybody else's stuff. I don't need to. Most of it, I find more of a struggle because of what they're saying that's not true. It's not the truth. I hear truth, but it's the not truth part that is the problem. Reading the Bible, if you read the Bible with discernment and know what the truth is, then you can see mysticism all over the Bible, but it's only about the things that Yahusha and those that followed him did. It's not all of the other narrative that went together with it. And so we're called to become great. We are great. Say it to yourself. I am great. You are amazing. If we could just learn to accept that. And we've all had plenty of people try to program us that weren't true. Have you ever cried for all the things that the people have done to you your whole life, of telling you that you were inferior, of telling you that you'd never be enough, you'll never be good enough? Don't you know? See, I had to whip you again because you've done this same thing 5 times this week, and you just keep, God, we've heard that mess our whole lives. Some of you know that more than other people do because you lived it. And it wasn't fun, it was painful. It wasn't what our Creator intended for us, friends. It wasn't. We are blessed from beginning. So, I am from the pre-existent Father. So in other words, I know what my beginning is, because they don't. Remember, they're blind. Okay, Yaldabaoth means one that is blind. They can't see the divine except they know the divine that's in us. That's why they hate us so much. I am from the pre-existent Father, and I am a son in the pre-existent one. And he will say to you, with what mandate have you come? And so let me give you a little picture of the mandate. I just gave you my mandate not 5 seconds ago. I told you, I don't need anyone to tell me why I'm here. I know why I'm here, and I came through my life with the universe guiding me to this point. And I've had people say words to me, well, you ain't got many followers. You want me to take you over to Israel and see how many people really followed Yeshua? You'd be surprised. It has nothing to do with that. Let me ask you a question. If you could do one thing in your life that would help one human find true enlightenment, would your life be worth it? That is to say, would you give up all of the pain and all of the suffering that you've gone through in the time of your dispensation in this humanity? Would you give that up to help one human find true enlightenment? And if the answer is yes, then you are blessed and you're already on the path. And if you don't know the answer to that question, it's no different than this. Most people's answer instinctively would be, no, I wouldn't. Sorrowful friends, wrong motive. And everything you do after that is nothing but corruption. So, I am the pre-existent one. Me. Point at yourself if you have the nerve. Me. I am the son of the pre-existent one. Because that is a truth whether you believe it or don't. You are the sons and daughters of the pre-existent one. His spark, his very divinity lives inside of you, dear one. And it's a slow process, but that's becoming more and more driven. Sometimes I go through fits of happiness by myself when I dance in my spirit, not because it's something that I haven't learned. It's something that I'm starting to be. It's something inside of me that I'm starting to recognize. It's not just me saying words anymore. It's a reality. And of course, we all know that we have the power to change our reality. But it's not maybe what most people are being told that means. I really have been shocked as Source continues to bring Gnosis knowledge to me. I'm really shocked at how many of the so-called spirit people who are popular right now, they're the same money-hungry people that pastor churches every Sun Worship Day. Kenneth Copeland's of the spirit realm. Wow. How sad. So, he will say to you after you tell him that you know who you are and that you know where you came from, they're still not done, friends. And then they will say to you, with what mandate have you come? In other words, what purpose is it for you being here? Do you know what the answer is? And did you know that it's pretty much the same for every human that there is? To sum it up in the ease of the Old Testament, I've come to do thy will, O Source. Why am I here? I'm here to bring light to a world that is full of darkness. You remember I told you the metaphor that Yahusha says you can't be in the light till you're in the darkness? Did you know that there is actually an extension of that whole metaphor that has to do with us coming into this world in the first place? When he says that, what he's telling you is you must come into this density to learn who you are and to shine that light. When you have done that, you are free to go. That's why this is happening. We are getting the blueprint to go. And guess what? 24,000 years ago, this happened. In 24,000 years in the future, it's going to happen again. This same thing. There are many who say that the spirits have been telling them that this incarnation that's going on right now, this how do you say it? This enlightenment season that's going on, that this will extend for at least another 400 years into the future. People will still more and more and more and more and more. The conscious collective is going to continue. Why? Because every time that souls come into the collective is stronger, it's brighter, its fullness is fuller, and we are the ones who carry that. You carry that. So, He will say to you, with what mandate have you come? You are to say to him, I have come at the behest of the pre-existent one. You know, I've listened to a lot of people, Vedics and others alike, talk about the reality of why that there are light workers that are here who have already made it to the pleroma. They've already defeated the archons, and they are now back in this dispensation solely for your protection, to help bring light to a world that is steady and steadfast and true. And oftentimes you will hear people say that you are just to be there to fill space. What are you supposed to fill this space with? You fill it with the light that you are, so other unenlightened people can feel its warmth as well. And as you do that, that strengthens them and helps them on their journey. So it really becomes the most unselfish thing that you could possibly ever do, to come back in as a light worker. If you go, you have already escaped this. You've probably been all over how many ever universes there are. And you made a choice to come back in to help humanity. That's beautiful. But you have to know that inside of you. And so, you are to say to him, I have come at the behest of the pre-existent one, that I may see those who are ours, those who have become aliens. Wow, really, really, really stiff and potent stuff right there. You are to say to him that I came for the purpose of to this earth of seeing who are ours, of seeing who are of the monad, of seeing who are of higher self. Or are you still a human, which makes you in a class not of the light? You have the light in you, but you are not the light. You must become the light. And you do that by washing and exposing and growing and learning. And so you tell him, I have come at the behest of the Ancient One, that I may see those who are ours, those who have become aliens. So whether you like it or not, everybody's looking for the return of the aliens, and the reality is the space beings are coming to see who the aliens are, and you're one of them. You are alien. See, if this world is what's important to you, then you won't understand what I just said. Just as if you look at yourself and you still see yourself as the human, instead of beginning to see yourself as the light, that's the same principle he's talking about here. Listen again. You are to say, I came at the behest. So at the request of, if you would, at the request of God, I have come in to experience, to take a look around, to see what those who are light like I am are, but they've been taken captive. You remember when he started out, he said they will steal your soul, right? Do you know that I don't truly know that it was ever intended for the archons to be successful at stealing human souls? And yet, here we are. I know they created us. I know that Source did not create us. The monad did not create us. Jesus did not create us. We were very clear we were created by the archon. But Sophia, thank goodness for wisdom, sowed the divinity into us. She did not sow that divinity into the archons. And that happened so long ago, friends, we probably can't count the billions of years ago that we have existed. And so here we go. It's beautiful. I have come at the behest of the pre-existent one, that I may see those who are ours, those who have become aliens. So the purpose for a light worker, and Dolores Cannon talked about 3 different waves of light workers that made a choice in the presence of Source to come back to help humanity. I'm not saying words that aren't validated. I'm not saying words that aren't true. There are light workers and there are people who are low. They're not light workers. And so he will say to you, of what kind are these aliens? Why would the Archons want to know who are these people that are aliens? Because if they can figure out who the aliens are, they can find out who the light workers are. They hate it because they lose control of us. They cannot possess you, friend. They cannot grab you when there is no you in the equation. There is only Source. It's beautiful. Of what kind are these aliens? You are to say to him, they are not entirely aliens, but they are from ahopmo, who is female. Now, many of you have never heard the name ahopmo. He gives you the understanding, but this is done for a purpose to catch your ear so that you go, what? Who is this ahopmo now all of a sudden that we've never heard a thing about? Listen. But they are from ahopmo, who is female. So you get another piece of the masculine and the feminine. This is a feminine phase. Listen. She produced them when she brought this generation down from the pre-existent one. Now I want you to see something here. These are all works of Sophia wisdom. Watch. She produced them when she brought this generation down from the pre-existent one, so they are not aliens, they are ours. So these are beings who are just like us. Okay? They are ours because she who rules over them comes from the pre-existent one. Yet they are aliens. Because the pre-existent one did not have intercourse with her when she was about to produce them. When he says to you again, where will you go? You are to say to him, I shall return to the place I came from. So if this dialogue isn't part of your heart, your mind, and yourself, friend, it's not just a simple interrogation. If you listen after today and what I'm sharing that Yeshua is teaching the world here, and you go spend a few times and you have a couple of binge nights of watching near-death experiences, you're going to hear those people that have had near-death experiences that bring some of these questions out that were asked to them. Now, we don't know the truth as science goes, so scientists don't hear it when they hear it. I mean, it doesn't spiritually ring in them because they look at things are only what they are. That's part of the big battle that Maria Blavatsky was fighting with, because they say that this is all there is, and yet who are they to tell us? Somebody made a statement, and I asked them recently, and you should ask yourself this constantly. The statement was made, and to me, it was like, well, that's not truth. And I asked, who told you that? Who told you that? Did Source tell you that? Or did an Archon tell you that? A lot of the stuff that's going on in the political world and the lies and the deception that are all over television and all over news, friends, are simply daily quotes sent from the Archons to keep things in disruption. Why? Because we need to be in fear. We need to be in lack. We need to be in all of those things so that we create a lot of loosh so that the Archons can feed off of that energy. And that energy comes mostly from fear and lack. Because when you're in lack, you're always in fear. And so, ahopmo, who is female, she produced them when she brought this generation down from the pre-existent one. So they are not aliens, they are ours. They are ours because she who rules over them comes from the pre-existent one. Yet they are aliens because the pre-existent one did not have intercourse with her when she was about to produce them. When he says to you again, where will you go? You are to say to him, I shall return to the place I came from. If you say these things, you will avoid their attacks. So what Yeshua kindly just gave us is the whole dialogue you will encounter the second you leave your physical body that means nothing. Not one word about what you should say in this earth. So, where will you go? If do you think, how many times do you think that this is what's been said? So then, where will you go? Do you know everybody I grew up in my whole life with, they would have all had the exact same answer? Shoot, man, we're going to heaven. We're going to go see Jesus. You might want to rethink that. So let's see. They're going to ask you, where will you go? You are to say to him, I shall return to the place that I came from. If you say these things, you will avoid their attacks. I love the practicality. See, here's the revelation that I've gotten, and I hope it'll bless some of you. All of these things are for us to see. As we grow and as we learn and we become more of an observer of the world than we are a reactor in the world. I don't even like the sound of that. React. To act over again. To react is to act over again. Means to do something again. And so, if you say these things, if these things are inside of you, understand it's obvious that it can't be your body because you're standing in a spiritual realm. If you fall into the hands of the three detainers who carry off souls by theft in that place, in order, and unfortunately we don't know, you can certainly use common sense and you can fill most of these blanks in for yourself if you choose to. In order for them to, you are to say to them, I am a vessel that is more precious than the female who made it. Okay? Who is your mother. Does anybody know the words to fill in? Now I want you to hear this. Please open your heart and mind. Let your kindness well up like a Care Bear swell. Yeshua, if you listen to what he said, he just told you that, dear one, each and every one of us are more precious than the divine wisdom that gives wisdom to everything. Let me read it for you again. If you fall into the hands of these detainers who carry off souls by theft in that place in order to free yourselves from them, to get away from them, you are to say to them, I am a vessel that is more precious than the female who is your mother. Well, we know that the mother of the demiurge of Yaldabaoth is Sophia Pistis, or divine wisdom. So he answered the questions that people might have about who is this. And so, but I shall call upon imperishable knowledge who is Sophia. So when he says, James in the book of James in the Bible says that let any man who lacks wisdom ask of it to the father monad, and it will be given to him. That sounds like you don't have it and you have to go acquire it. What the father monad will reveal, because it is the extension of your higher self, is that you already possess that wisdom. You may have a struggle with believing that about you. I'm not talking about you, the person. I'm not talking about your either elevated or diminished intelligence or intellect. I'm talking about you, the true you, not the physical you, not the avatar you. And so it just blows me away when you hear such amazing words. You are to say to them. And so can I ask a question? Does it ring honest and fair and true to you guys that if Yeshua is who Yeshua is, and Yeshua is telling us something that we need to say, and if we understand that Yeshua was higher self exemplified, then when he said that, he's totally nowhere in there does whatever you think this person is. See, I have a name on this earth, but that is not my name. I have a picture of who I am that I look in a mirror, and that is not the picture. That's why you're told in the scriptures that then you will be known, you will know yourself as you are known by all the other lights. See, that whole statement that was made in the Christian Bible is totally metaphysical, and it directly ties to the reality that there is two of you. We are a multiplicity. We are a duality. We are carnal and we are spiritual. And which one of those rules this house will determine who you are. And so, you are to say to them, I am a vessel that is more precious than the female who created me, who created you. Who is your mother? As long as she is ignorant of her root, you also will not become sober again. But I shall call upon imperishable knowledge, who is Sophia, who is in the Father, and is the mother of Achamoth. Achamoth had no father or male companion, but she is a female from a female. She created you by herself without a male, since she was ignorant of those who attain to her mother. She thought that she alone existed. I shall cry up to her mother. Then they will be troubled, still talking about the archons. So if you have gravitated, if you haven't, you should buy you one of these books and tear that page out, if for no other reason, just so it's easy for you to find it and read it. But this is one of the most profound afterlife teachings that Yeshua ever gives. With the answers and the questions you're going to be asked, and the proper answers that will help you free yourself from the prison and the hold of the archons. I just read that to you. Then they will be troubled, and they will blame their root in the generation of their mother. But you will go up to what is yours. So did you see? Now there's a dissension and a thing going on amongst the archons, but you are free to ascend, which is exactly what we've been told by mystics for thousands of years. Hundreds of thousands of years, I suspect. They will be troubled. So the same people that are holding people into living multiple lives, you mean you can simply trouble them by knowing what the truth about who you are is? That I came from the pre-existent one. I came from the one who is unnameable. I mean, the power in that statement is so crazy. If you hear it inside, it makes you happy. When I see that I am one of the most precious beings, if you would, that was created. I am a spark, a piece, a flake, a chip of the monad, of the Supreme One. No if, no now, no pray, no repent, nothing. You have to do nothing to be what you are. You have to do something to reveal who you are. Being it, you're already it. You just have to choose to accept that. And I know lots of people have lots of fetishes and lots of fallacies, you know. They have really negative pictures of themselves. Well, I'm not worthy. It's not uncommon, friends. In fact, humans are very bent towards that. Well, things don't happen because I know I don't deserve it. I had a bad thought over here, or I did something mean to somebody. Because that's what we were taught, that the universe gives us retribution. There's just a response that happens with everything that's done. It's not the universe being anything to you. It's simply you functioning inside of a law that's not going to change for you. If you do good things happen. If you do bad things happen. It's just the way that it is. Choose to live according to the laws, or can prove that the laws are correct by your suffering. It's your choice. Seems like it should be a hard decision to miss, but most don't know. But they will be troubled, and they will blame their root in the generation of their mother. But you will go up to what is yours, and after you have thrown off their fetters. Fetters is a conversation that has had about a chain that has been put around your ankle. It holds you in the place that you are. Everybody's out here selling enlightenment. Nobody's talking about freeing people from the fetters. When I say you are a prisoner of the Archon, dear friend, I'm not using those words loosely. And neither is Yeshua. They are prototypes of the 12 disciples and the 62 companions. Akamoth, which is translated as Sophia, you are to hide within yourself who I am and who is imperishable. Sophia is, through whom you will be delivered, and who all the children are of the one who is. The divine, the supreme, the light, the source, the one who is what he was known. That also goes back. There is some context here that does go back to the Old Testament, where supposedly, yet again, it's another corruption, but supposedly when Moses asked God, okay, who he was or who should he say, he said, Iyah Asher Iyah. And that does mean I am who I am, but it also has another interpretation which is completely different. That actually is a power word you can learn, and it is a statement that you are making when you use the term, believe it or not, Iyah. Things happen in the spirit realm from that one term. And so when we realize who all the children are of the one who is, these matters that they have known and have hidden within themselves, be quiet about these things. Are you hearing me? Be quiet about these things. But reveal them to Adai. As soon as you leave, there will be war waged against this land, so weep for anyone who dwells in Jerusalem. Let a die take these things to heart. In the 10th year, a die is to sit down and write them out. So here's the thing I want to say to you. If it seems far-fetched to you that I happen to know who I am, don't be surprised. There are people all over this earth who know who they are. A die knew who he was. Paul knew who he was. They are all light beings who have come back into this earth to help humanity. Every prophet was a light being who came back into earth to drudge through this density to help humans. And if that's not your heart, you got a problem. Because that is the purpose. And as soon as you leave, there will be war waged against this land. So weep for anyone who dwells in Jerusalem. Let a die take these things to heart. In the 10th year, a die is to sit down and write them out. When he has written them out, and they are to give them to, he has the first, who is called by the name Levi. And so even though that's, I hate these broken places, but they are what they are. Still, in just a second, you will see a context that is pretty easy to see. And so, who is called by the name Levi. So obviously, all of those words that Yeshua just spoke that were lost to us, obviously those words were spoken in direction to do something to Levi. Let's see. Then he is to bring forth without words, on the basis of what was prophesied earlier. I say, he is to take a wife outside of Jerusalem in her, and he is to produce 2 sons from her. They are to inherit these things, the ancient teachings, and the understanding of one who will rise even higher. They are to receive from him a portion of his mind. Wow. Whoever Adai is, he must have been something amazing, or was he just a person who knew who he was? There are people all over the earth that are starting to come to peace with who they are. And that's inevitably part of the journey anyways. Until you know that, you don't know anything. And so, the smaller is greater amongst them. Let these things be shared with him and hidden with him until he is 17 years old. And we don't know what's lost there from them. He will be severely persecuted at the hands of his fellow. He will be proclaimed through them, and he will proclaim this word. Then it will become a seed of salvation. So I'm going to say, just in reiteration again, friends, the salvation that Yeshua came to bring to us was the knowledge that you are divine. That is salvation. If you do not have that knowledge, you are still a prisoner. And understand, saving someone from prison is the greatest salvation that exists. So when you save someone, when someone hears these words and they grow and they take those words and they give those words to someone else, they are giving salvation to another spirit being. Has nothing to do with the human. And if you begin to understand how strong, it's one of the greatest problems that I see, because it's one of the most difficult things to do is to begin to recognize, to function as an observer where you see yourself, where you see your ego functioning, where you see your anger functioning. And I want to say another word. There's a lot of people that are, because they're running from the truth anyways, that think that all of these things, oh, you got to be positive and all of that, friends. There's a lot of truth, folks, that is not positive, depending on who you are. If you are a believer and a follower of truth, then they have no consequence to you. In fact, to you, they are known. So, at 17 years old, He's going to take them, and he will be severely persecuted at the hands of his fellows. He will be proclaimed through them, and he will proclaim this word. What words? The words that Yeshua has just said. Then it will become a seed of salvation. So just so you know, dear friends, whether you know it or don't, I sowed salvation to you by simply reading these texts. I had nothing to do with writing them. There was nothing that was needed from me except a voice and the desire to help people by putting the truth in front of you. I've accomplished my task. Quite simply. So James and Jesus conclude the conversation, and James faces his martyrdom. James said, I am encouraged, and they are blank for my soul. Yet I ask you something else. So was James surprised that he was going to inevitably be killed? No, he wasn't. He full well knew it. Yeshua was very clear. Yeshua didn't go to him and go, oh, now I'm going to be a little negative, James. I'm going to tell you that no matter what, man, they're going to bash your head in and throw you off the highest pinnacle of the temple. But he did. He just didn't need to say it. I am encouraged, and they are coming for my soul. Yet I ask you something else. What are the 7 women who have become your disciples? So now we get a picture, because many of you have heard the increase with the studying of Mary Magdalene, and that she was actually called in many ancient texts prior to Christianity. Yeshua in the tomb said to Mary Magdalene, the one that he loved and kissed on the lips, the scriptures tell us he told her to go back and tell them. He sent her. The name it is given in Latin is apostololis, which has the concept, Mary, I am sending you as the apostle to the apostles, is truthfully how this thing worked prior to Christianity. So Peter might have been the first pope of Rome. I assure you, first off, that I don't believe that that's the truth, because I believe Peter, just like all of us, was a perfect picture of who I am. A broken individual, impetuous about most of the time. Sounds a lot like it. So James has this struggle he's going through. Who are the 7 women who have become your disciples? Did you ever know there were 7 women that were Yeshua's disciples? I'm sorry, did that miss from your Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the book of Acts? Surely, if there were 7 women that is disciples, surely we would have heard their name. How is this James, the so-called brother of Yeshua, the head of the Essenes and the head of the Christian church in first century Palestine or Jerusalem, how was he to know that there were 7 disciples that were female and we know nothing about them? Look at all the women, bless you. So now you almost get the concept that James was a little bit offended at Yeshua that all of these women are blessing him. He says, look, all the women bless you, but I wonder how can it be that powerless vessels have become strong through the perception within them? And so then you immediately, when you hear those words, you immediately come to place and go, well, James is not questioning Yeshua. James is in a midst of a turmoil because he sees in his spirit the reality that all of us are divine, both man and woman. And he doesn't know how to deal with it. Remember, James is a Jew. He's been taught his whole life that women are inferior vessels because of the sin that Eve committed. That's what Jewish teaches. That is the creation story. And he's having a problem. Yeshua. How is it that all of these women are coming in here and they're learning the things and it's working for them? How is that? But I wonder, how can it be that powerless vessels have become strong through? And I love this because, dear friends, if they could become strong through, you also can become strong through. Let's see what it's through that they became strong. How about that? And of course, he tells us through the perception that is within them. Now, I would like for you to think for just a second, dear one. Why did James say specifically the perception that was in them? What is this perception that is in them is the same divine higher self that is in a man. There is zero difference in the spirit realm between a man and a woman. There is only differences between ego and ego. Man and woman. Avatar and avatar. All higher self is the same. That's why we are all tied to each other, which is why Yeshua told us that we are to love our neighbors as ourselves. And I'm not sure they didn't corrupt that statement. And it should be that he actually said you are to love your neighbors because they are yourself. That changes everything. But I wonder, how can it be that these powerless vessels have become strong through the perception that is within them? How did that happen, Source? And the master said, you blank, 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 well, blank, 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 a spirit of blank, 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 a spirit of thought. So if you don't get anything else, you can still pull out of that scripture that this is something about a way that James is thinking about things. Let's see. A spirit of counsel and a spirit of knowledge, a spirit of fear. When we pass through the region of this archon called Adianos. So here's a piece that every one of you that have heard about archons that you need to hear. Yeshua just exposed that the archons have regions that they rule over. And this archon specific is called Adonios. We something him and we tested him, you can kind of get, and he was ignorant. When I passed by him, he thought I was a son of his. And he treated me graciously at that time, as though I were his son. You get what he's really the metaphor is saying. He said, I came into this earth and the archons thought I was one of them. But they didn't know. They couldn't tell. And they thought I were his son. Then before I appeared in this place, they were cast among this people. Okay, so what's he talking now? He just said something that kind of changes the shift. The conversation Yeshua was having about this archon was before this earth and humans ever existed. If you'll look at what he's saying there. And I went graciously at the time as though I were his son. Then before I appeared in this place, so before he came here, they were cast among this people. But from that, the prophets, there again, did not, and upon you, and James said, Rabbi, something them all together, who are those among them more than? And the master said, James, I praise you for the accuracy of your word, which is, for you have cast away from yourself the cup, which is bitterness. None of the rulers will be able to stand against you. So I would like to say this today emphatically to each and every one of us. We have an option to walk in a realm, if you will, it's of supernatural protection, but it's a supernatural protection that comes from inside of you. That's why we're told there's a verse in the Bible that says that we are to not be fearful of anything. You remember Paul got bit by the snake and he threw it off? Well, there's some reality to those. I don't know that we'll get to see them in our lifetime, or at least mine before I die. These things that I talk and that I dream of may not happen until I'm long dead. And so when you put yourself in this state, when you stand in this place, when you have these answers to this question, you understand. Because remember, this is all a dissertation about the questions that you're to ask, that you're to answer when you die. And if you forget that that's still where we are, then you might think we're off somewhere else. And so he says, none of the rulers will be able to stand against you, for you have begun to understand their roots from beginning to end. The whole purpose, why was the thing about Sophia, and even if you're confused about it, it was put in there because you need to know that when you are talking to these people, you need to know who they are. And they are not you. You are above them. You are sovereign. They are not. And so none of the rulers will be able to stand against you, for you have begun to understand their roots from beginning to end. So he just told us that the way for us to overcome the archons is to know what the hell they are and know what the hell we're supposed to say. And because of that, we have victory. That's the whole concept. Listen at what he says. Cast away from yourself all lawlessness. When I said to you early, dear ones, it wasn't just me hating on the Democrats or the behavior that's being propagated in the news. It was me knowing a divine truth. I've said this to you 100 different times. We went and lived the Torah, and it was amazing. It was a beautiful journey. But I have to tell you, I have full belief that my journey was to take me there so I could experience what that means. Because once you have lived it, according to a given text, it's very easy to see that principle. And the principle is you may not have a Bible that you have to follow. You may not have 10 commandments that you have to keep. You actually have to live to now the laws of the universe. And if you think the ones in the Bible was heavy, and if you think that they were dried and cut, you don't know anything compared to what the laws of the universe. They never deviate for anything. Never deviate for anything. Let's listen to what the master says. Cast away from you. That's an act that only you can do. I can beat it out of you. I can carry it away from you, but I can't make you throw it away. Cast away from you yourself, from me, all lawlessness, and beware lest they touch you. So do you know what he just said again? Each one of these statements is a teaching. He just told you that practicing lawlessness opens the door and puts handles on you for the archons to grab you. End of deal. Keep doing your sin, keep doing your lawlessness if you choose to. So be it. It's irrelevant to me anymore. It doesn't mean anything. None of this. I can't change anybody. I only can change me. But that's the truth. Christianity couldn't teach that because most people will not obey that. They have no conviction for doing what's right. They only do right because there's a law to do it. And he seems to think you're supposed to know what lawlessness is. Obviously, how could you do what you don't know is? And beware lest they touch you. When you speak these words of such great perception, exhort this, and then Salome and Mary, these are some of the ones who are his women disciples. When you speak these words here that I'm answering James about why women are just as powerful, I want you to salute them also. I want it to be known that these women are my disciples. That's Yeshua's thoughts. These he offers up as a burnt offering and sacrifices, but I will not do so. Oh my. These he offers up as burnt offerings and sacrifices, but I will not do so. What, Yeshua, you mean you don't think? Rather, I will bring first fruits of the imperishable, that the power of truth may be clear. First fruits of the light is what Yeshua says he's bringing to the table. So when I tell you that there are light workers that have come back from the pleroma and took on a human body, and they've been living their whole life to be of assistance to humanity, to tell them what to remember and to give them pieces of ancient truth to help them hopefully make a choice to remember. It's old news, friends. The perishable has gone up to the imperishable, and the work of femaleness has attained to the work of this maleness. You almost get a concept of the picture is actually a little bit more of a maleness being more base and a femaleness being more ethereal. That's why Sophia is a female. And James says, Rabbi, into these three then has their lot been cast, for they have been despised and persecuted by them. The master said, James, look, I have imparted everything to you. I have left you behind in no way, for you have received the first fruits of gnosis, knowledge. And you know now the place in which you will walk. So once again, divine placement of light workers is always the universe's plans. Do you know how many light workers people push out of their life because they don't want the light? Because they have trusted you that they may be convinced for their blessing and salvation. So it's obvious that he felt like James speaking the truth that James was speaking was the object of what would bring salvation to them. Gnosis through man to man. For all of those who believe that you shouldn't listen to a man. And that this revelation may come to pass because of you. Wow, what a high calling for James, that the pleroma, the highest, the unknowable, had a plan and saw James as filling that role. Yeshua certainly did, because he said of him that this world was created, James, for you. It's James is why we got what we got of Yeshua's teachings. And so then he went at once and he admonished the 12, and he instilled in them contentment about the way of knowledge. What did James do? He heard these things, he got them, he felt them, he knew he was becoming, and he went and he sowed them excitedly into the minds of the disciples. I'm guessing that included the 7 women. Most of the judges, when they saw that there was no case against him, left him alone. But the other ones and the people resisted. Rising up, they said, let us take this person away from the earth, for he is not worthy of life. The first ones were afraid, and they rose up and said, we have no part in this man's blood, for a just man will will perish unjustly. James left in order to, my Father in the heavens, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. Wow. How amazing it is that if James had not fulfilled his role, of course the monad would have used someone else, I'm quite sure. Not that there was ever a possibility, although I guess there was always the potential for James to remove himself from that by, becoming something bad. Not that that was it. It was a potential, but it was never a possibility because of James' heart. So even for good people, they still have the potential of being bad. You have the potential to be bad. All you have to do is continue to be what you are. You also have the potential to choose to be light. Just is a matter of which decision you make. It's really simple, but it's so difficult because it requires everything of you. Many people feel uncomfortable with the thought that they must die daily, as Paul said, or like John said, that he must cease to exist so that he can truly exist. And just so you know, those are very mystical statements for sure, but you can find those in every mystical belief system exists, whether it's Chaldean, whether it is the mysticism of Egypt, whether it is the mysticism of China. It's irrelevant where the same things are still being taught. That you are divine and divineness is in you. You haven't been a sinner. You haven't committed sin. You are light. You have done some bad things as a human, and there's no doubt that all of us have. So we deal with that as we can deal with it, as we are as a quality of a person. Many people find great remorse and yet don't destroy themselves because they see failure in themselves. And many people I've met throw up their hands and quit because of their failure. It's just a matter of who you are as a person. So, I hope you guys will be blessed. I hope that I haven't bored you. I hope I haven't offended you, but I do hope that I have pricked you. And if I have done that, then there's absolutely no question that I have been successful today. So we're going to take a leave here. Bless you guys. Oh, one thing before we go, I'd love to, Sister Francis, if you're watching, sweetie, I heard you're back at home. And here's the thing I've been going through in my mind. I grew up, my daughter was a Care Bear fanatic. That's when they first came out. I actually even went to Care Bear movies with them. And I would like to say that there's a little bit more of a principle of light in the whole concept that they use, the underlying concept of the Care Bears. But there's something that always used to make everyone feel good when we would, and I mean whether it was my son or my daughter or my wife or myself, when we would go watch a Care Bear movie, because they would pull their arms back and push their chest out. And I know you guys, and I'm not talking about excessively, although it's okay to do that too. But what they were actually saying in that you may have never known about these pretty little Care Bears that have rainbows and grumpies and what you might not know is that they are actually showing you the way of collective light healing. When they have a Care Bear stare, that is collective light healing. That is a group. It doesn't matter what were we told when 2 or 3 joined together touching anything? What might that really mean? What if we really knew how to tie all of our energies together in heart, in one mind, in one accord? And what if we really took those pieces out of the Bible and learned what they really meant, and then we begin to use them? You would be totally blown away how radically the world would be converted. I hope that that's in our 4-point. But then I love the other thing that they always showed you with the big Care Bear stare. You remember what it was? What was it? Come on, you remember. Care Bear stare, if you had kids, you had to see it. It was all of them standing, and there was light coming out of where? Coming out of their heart. So when supernatural healing that is going to come to this earth is going to be light that comes out of people's hearts. And I don't know about you, that this turns me on. So if I could get everybody, as before we go away, anybody who's watching this, if you are there, Sister Francis, and you're watching, I want you to just close your eyes, lean back, put your hands out, and become an antenna, a receiver for the love that people are going to send you. All right, it's real and it will work if you believe it. So we'll just close our eyes, focus your inner self into your heart, and then that's the beginning work, and then set the intent. I intend to send this love to Sister Francis. Might be surprising, but I have to tell you, whether you know it or not, something just happened. So bless you guys. I hope that you'll take some of this stuff. I know if you've been under one life system, it's probably very difficult to hear a lot of these things. But I would like to encourage you that we're going to always hear things that are going to have to make us think. And so I hope you guys will value that, and will see the reality and the beauty that comes out of that. We don't have to be captive. We don't have to even be grabbed by the archonic forces, but we do have to know who we are and how to behave. So blessings to each and every one of you. Shalom again. Total peace and completeness, and namaste.